So as our economy's begun to shift to this data-oriented economy with AI data centers being the primary drivers in economic growth, and there's all these promises of more and more jobs in this field, which, if you know how these things go, usually they just want to import workers and they would rather uh, automate everything, which makes sense. But I mean, it's not, the point is that it's not like it used to be where, oh yeah, you have a company, it grows, you have to hire more people, you need more labor. We're kind of going to this post-consumer, post-labor world where the companies are no longer caring about the consumer and they're not beholden to the consumer because the economy is just driven by all this money you can print and give out, creating debt. And so the share that the consumers have is decreasing as the middle class gets squeezed. And that's a whole other issue. Actually, it's not. It's very, it fits right in. But so I just have all these links here, and I've been wanting for a long time to go through them and show what's the changes that have been undergoing, just the average person's day-to-day life, but also people who are into personal computing. This is the writing on the wall that you're not going to be able to create your computer that's going to be powerful in your home because the data centers need that. The AI needs that. So they are going to want you in the future to basically rent your power from the data center. But anyway, let's keep going here. This is interesting. I found this today. Surging electricity rates put data centers on 2026 ballot. Here's why. So voter anger over surging electricity prices is spreading across the country and across partisan lines, as energy-guzzling data centers put an increasing strain on the power grid and ratepayers' wallets. So people are upset about this, and rightfully so. And it's across both sides. Everyone doesn't want their power to go up or their energy costs to go up. This is just showing how many more data centers there are, like where the hubs are for data centers, and the year-over-year price in electricity. So Virginia is actually the fastest growing hub for data centers. But so look, it's Illinois. Your electricity rates went up 16% year over year. I think it's year over year. Yeah, year over year, 15%. Ohio, 12%. Texas, 3.8%. Virginia. So if you live in these states, you're totally getting screwed because these data centers are popping up. And I doubt people are getting jobs actually at these data centers. They'd rather hire H-1B visa people who aren't going to say anything about something like this. And they'd rather automate everything, and that's what they're really moving towards. So anyway, let's move on. So, okay, surge in prices. I mean, this is just showing the surge in price. It's gone up. RAM has pretty much gone up 200%. If you want to buy RAM for your computer, it's about 200% more. Okay, and I'll go over something that this is what's going to affect the regular person. Consumer electronics, and that's not just computers. Every single electronic you have, your refrigerator, your dishwasher. I don't know. Yeah, dishwashers I think even have them now. And the typical stuff, I don't know, like the Amazon Alexas that people talk to, or your Ring doorbell, or this, that. All these items do use some RAM. They have RAM built in. They have electronics built in there, and all that is going to be more expensive. So that's another cost that's going to go down to the consumers. Okay, this is another chart showing the top 10 RAM. So those are the top 3, and they make up 94% of all the RAM produced. I need my article here. Here it is. Okay, Micron, they're the third largest one. They decided to stop selling RAM to PC owners and focus on AI companies because that's going to make them more profit. Okay, so that's that. I have the... Okay, and then OpenAI, with their Stargate project, they are going to consume about 40% of the global DRAM output. They have a deal with Samsung and SK Hynix. And now going back to that chart, where was our chart that showed the 3? SK Hynix, Samsung, and Micron. So they're going to get 40% of what is this? It's like 70% of the market share. So that's obviously driving up prices too. And the executive of, I believe, Micron says that the cheap days of 1 terabyte SSDs are over. Confirms supply already sold out until 2027. There's that. And then I had a bunch of screenshots of the prices that things were and what they are now. Okay, so I got for $69.99, I got a 1 terabyte micro SD card on the 11th of December. Now that same SD card is $129.99, and that's kind of par for the course. Here is just a sample of where that card was. So all the way through December it was low, and then now it's $130. Okay, so but that's not it's not the only thing that goes across. Okay, so here's an image of, I got a Silicon Power 512 gigabytes RAM was $32.50 after tax, and that was on June 21st of last year. Now same item is, oh come on, $52.97. And it wasn't, when I got that $30 one, it wasn't even really on sale. That was the going rate. It was $30. Now, obviously not the case. So anyway, so all this stuff is getting way more expensive. And so that gets into the thing where I've always thought they want you to put your pictures, your data, they want you to put it in the cloud. They don't want you to have access to it and have it on your own files in your own storage. They want you on these subscription services. They want everything to be a subscription. There's talk even now that you can, through NVIDIA, you can use their data centers to get their power to power your graphics for your games through their GeForce Now, I think it's called. So they kind of want you on a subscription service for even your graphical, your graphics card. They don't want you having your own graphics card. It's just it's gotten so ridiculous, and people are pissed off. But if you just have, in spite, gamer type people, they do make up a big, and then people who would want to maybe run their own LLM language models on their own device, because maybe in the future you can't trust ChatGPT to have an honest one that's actually going to yield good results. So you'd want to curate your own, maybe, or it's just people's projects that they would want to do on their own with their own computing power. 40% of Samsung and SK Hynix going to OpenAI. Micron out of the consumer game for good for RAM. So that's doubled the prices, maybe even tripled the prices. Okay, so, and that's going to continue. Surging memory chip prices, dim outlook for consumer electronics makers. So this goes, your phone. Everybody's phone has RAM in it. Phone prices are going to go up. Everybody has a phone. And they're probably going to try to start making phones with less RAM. So they'll be less performant than they were in years past. And they're not going to lower the price. So yeah, they're saying that smartphone and PC sales are expected to decline due to higher costs. Oh, memory chip shortage impacts low and mid-range device makers most. All right. Apple may weather the price surge better than rivals. That's because their prices are already more expensive regardless of specs anyway. People don't buy Apple because of the specs, because of how powerful they are. They buy it because it's an Apple. Whereas an Android phone maker or PCs, you buy them because of the power that they have. And Apple's M1 laptops, I've heard good things about those chips, but that's just generally speaking. Apple has more of a brand loyalty. So anyway, let's see. And just in general, this is an interesting chart. So they're calling it the AI money machine, how NVIDIA and OpenAI fuel it. So all these companies, the moral of the story is all these companies kind of just invest and feed into each other, and they're all going up. They're all driving up the stocks just keep going up and up and up, but they're all investing in each other. And what are they producing? Cloud storage and local language models, AI generators, chips. At least AMD and Nvidia actually create a product that's a tactile product. But so anyway, there's that. Memory prices, more about memory prices. Okay, so then this is interesting because before it was just the graphics cards, and then it was okay, graphics cards are actually getting cheaper because it's kind of funny, they actually have a problem. I'll show this video by Gamers Nexus where their problem now is that they actually have too many GPUs, and they need to create data centers and have places to put them.
The issue we are now having is not a compute glut, but it's a power, and it's sort of the ability to get the builds done fast enough close to power.
So this is some Microsoft CEO, I don't know his name.
So if you can't do that, you may actually have a bunch of chips sitting in inventory that I can't plug in. In fact, that is my problem today, right? It's not a supply issue of chips. It's actually the fact that I don't have warm shells to plug into.
Okay, so there's that. So they bought them all up, sent the prices soaring, and then now they have too many. And so they just went and now they're just screwing up other... and the thing was, they probably had all these graphics cards, but they didn't have enough RAM to run them, as well as they'd like. So then, we have to catch up there. So now let's screw up this side of the, give it a break with the GPUs and go over to RAM for foreseeable future. So I guess that's kind of it for now. I don't really want to go quite into the surveillance state issue with these data centers because that's probably a lot of what they're going to be used for as far as the government wanting to fund it. But that's also an important issue to get into because Larry Ellison, Palantir, they want to create surveillance systems to police the people. And at the beginning of 2025, we had this Project Stargate that OpenAI announced with Oracle, Larry Ellison, that guy that keeps buying up all the media companies. He's trying to control our media and what people can say. With SoftBank, OpenAI. So it's $500 billion. That's government funding. And then so you also have Microsoft, Nvidia. They're also partners in there. So anyway, so that happened in early 2025. And then there was also around this time, all the graphics cards seem to be getting bought up by these companies because there's this thing called the H100 graphics card that is produced by Nvidia. It's GPU, and that's the one that everybody wants. With the CHIPS Act, it was illegal for China to get them, but everybody was speculating that China was getting them through intermediaries, other countries that were allowed to get them. But so the point is that Nvidia was moving towards wanting to use the silicon that these chips require because that is not a unlimited resource. They want to use that for these H100 chips, and because they'd rather sell the government or these big companies, big corporations, big tech, they're a better client than the average consumer selling one by one individual graphics cards that aren't as powerful. And the consumer, they might return it. I don't know how much that plays into it, but it's more profitable. It's better for them to just sell to these big companies subsidized by the government.